age is over 40. We can rattle names off.
Yeah.
And they always get these heroic roles. Why don't you see women like this? All of my friends in the industry look amazing, and they're quite athletic. Why aren't we all in films like this every year?
For more than 2 decades, Taraji P. Henson has stood in front of cameras as one of Hollywood's most recognizable faces. An Oscar nomination, a Golden Globe, a Screen Actors Guild Award, a television character so iconic that people who have never watched a single episode of Empire still know the name Cookie Lyon. From the outside, it looks like a career with nothing left to prove. But Taraji herself has spent years telling a different story. One about exhaustion, about being underpaid relative to her peers, and about having to fight for respect that her resume should have already guaranteed. This is not a story about scandal. It is a story about what it actually costs to build a career in an industry that does not always reward talent the way it promises to. Taraji P. Henson's career did not happen by accident. She built it role by role, starting with her breakout performance in John Singleton's Baby Boy in 2001, a film that immediately established her as an actress with range and presence. For years later, Hustle and Flow brought her further into the industry spotlight, and by 2008, she was standing opposite Brad Pitt in David Fincher's The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Her performance as Queenie earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress, a milestone that, for most actors, marks a permanent turning point in their career trajectory. Then in 2015, everything changed again. Taraji stepped into the role of Cookie Lyon in Fox's Empire, and the character became a genuine cultural phenomenon. She became the first black actress to win the Critics' Choice Television Award for Best Actress in a Drama Series, and the show itself became appointment television, regularly drawing audiences in the tens of millions. By any conventional measure, Taraji had arrived. She had the awards, the ratings, the recognition, and the fame. But underneath that visible success, Taraji has said for years that something did not add up. Recognition did not always translate into the kind of career security or compensation that her peers with comparable resumes were receiving. And she was not shy about explaining why. During the negotiations for The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Taraji and her team initially proposed a salary that reflected her growing profile at the time. The studio's counteroffer came in far lower, and after negotiation, her final salary landed well below what she and her team had hoped for. The film went on to become a massive commercial and critical success, earning multiple Academy Award nominations and generating hundreds of millions of dollars worldwide. Taraji has spoken publicly about how, after taxes, commissions, and other standard industry deductions, the amount she actually took home from that project was a small fraction of what audiences likely assumed a film of that scale would pay its Oscar-nominated cast. She has described this as part of a broader pattern rather than a single disappointing negotiation. Each major project, Baby Boy, Hustle and Flow, Benjamin Button, Empire, arrived with the expectation that it would be the breakthrough that permanently changed her earning power and her standing in the industry. And each time, she found herself back at the negotiating table, having to make the case for her own value all over again. This frustration became impossible to ignore during the press tour for The Color Purple in late 2023. In a widely discussed interview with Gayle King, Taraji spoke candidly about feeling exhausted, not from the work itself, but from constantly having to prove she deserved compensation that matched her experience. She explained that audiences often see headline salary figures and assume actors are walking away with enormous paychecks, without understanding how much is deducted for agents, managers, attorneys, and taxes before an actor ever sees a final number. Her comments resonated widely in other prominent actresses, including Gabrielle Union and Yvette Nicole Brown, publicly voiced support, describing the conversation as one the industry could no longer avoid having. Taraji also pushed back on a long-standing industry assumption that films led by black actors do not perform as well internationally, and therefore do not justify the same budgets or salaries as films led by white actors. She pointed to the box office success of films like Black Panther and Creed III as evidence that this reasoning no longer reflected reality, arguing that black-led films succeed internationally when studios give them the same level of investment and marketing as any other major release. Taraji has revealed that she almost turned down The Color Purple altogether, not because of the script or the cast, but because she had not received what she considered a meaningful pay increase since Proud Mary in 2018. She has said that accepting another major role under similar financial terms would have sent the wrong message, both about her own worth and about what the next generation of black actresses, including her castmates Fantasia Barrino and Danielle Brooks, should expect to be paid. In her view, staying silent and accepting less would only allow the same pattern to continue for the actresses coming up behind her. She has also been honest about the emotional toll of carrying that fight for so long. Taraji has said that the accumulated frustration over pay, recognition, and opportunity had begun to change her outlook, and that she did not like who she was becoming as a result. Rather than let that resentment build further, she made the decision in 2025 to step away from Hollywood for about a month, traveling to Bali to disconnect and reconnect with the reasons she started acting in the first place. That break led to something few people expected: a Broadway debut. In 2025, Taraji starred in August Wilson's Joe Turner's Come and Gone, a production from the Apollo Theater in partnership with Broadway producers that opened at New York's Belasco Theater and extended into 2026 due to strong demand. She portrayed Bertha Holly, the resilient matriarch at the center of Wilson's celebrated 1911 drama, a role that marked her first appearance on a Broadway stage after more than 2 decades in film and television. Live theater is a fundamentally different discipline from film or television. There are no retakes, no editing, and no breaks between emotionally demanding scenes. Major Broadway productions typically require 8 live performances a week, with evening shows most nights and additional matinees on weekends, a physically and emotionally demanding schedule that continues for months at a time. In interviews throughout production's run, Taraji spoke about how the experience reminded her why she became an actress in the first place. She described the stage as stripping away the contract negotiations and industry politics it had, in her words, overshadowed the simple joy of performing. She also spoke about a more personal ritual, doing her own makeup before each performance, describing it as a way of mentally transitioning into character before stepping on stage, something she rarely had the opportunity to do on film sets with large hair and makeup teams. Alongside the Broadway run, Taraji also spoke about a lifestyle change she had made, cutting alcohol out of her routine, a decision she said contributed to feeling healthier overall. She has been open in interviews about wanting to take better care of herself after a period she has described as emotionally exhausting. What makes Taraji P. Henson's story compelling is not scandal or spectacle. It is the fact that she's been willing to say, in public and on the record, that success does not automatically come with fairness. She has used her platform not just to advance her own career, but to name a pattern that other actresses, particularly black actresses, have described experiencing as well. Her Broadway debut did not erase the frustration she has spoken about for years, but it did mark a moment where she chose to return to acting on her own terms, for the craft itself, rather than for another round of negotiations. 2 decades in, Taraji P. Henson is still fighting the same fight she started fighting the day she walked onto the set of Baby Boy, to be paid and respected in proportion to the work she does. The difference now is that she is no longer willing to fight that battle quietly.